Hey everybody, this is Rich here with Beekeeping with Rich. I'm going to be talking fast here because we don't have too much time till a storm hits us, I don't think. Hurricane Ian's coming. We are now technically out of the cone, so everything I'm about to do here is probably a waste of time. But that's the thing with hurricanes, they're like bees. They're going to do what they're going to do. Right now, this is supposed to swing up after it passes Cuba. It's supposed to swing way up, hit the armpit of the state, and then keep on powerhousing north from there and just flood everywhere. Yeah, but that's what the meteorologists say, and you know how often they're right. There are times when those things just swing a little further out, come and just all of a sudden come running across the state. I've been here 40 years. I've seen them come from the west coast, cross the state, get over on the east coast, and then do 180 degrees and come back in. You never know. But it's not the hurricanes that really ever worry us. It's the tornadoes they spin off. The hurricanes don't do that much damage down here.
Well, you can't really say that.
I can't say that, but most part, this bee yard is so heavily involved with foliage. I can take a gallon jug, put a couple inches of water in it, and set it on top of these hives. And when the storm's passed, the jug is still sitting there. There wasn't enough wind to blow it off. So what you're about to see me do is overkill, but better safe than sorry when it's easily enough done. So here's what I do in case of a hurricane coming. These temporary fence posts from Home Depot are quite cheap. I did not check to see what today's cost is in the grand scheme of things. Back in the day, these were $1.67 a piece. They're probably more like $2.50 or something now. But what I do is I drive them in. If you'll see them over here, they're driven in on either side of the hive, on each one of the hives. I drive them in on either side. That's for lateral stability. The single most important thing, when you're done there, dear. Okay. The single most important thing I do is the ratchet strap to hold the hive together. Because literally, if the hive is knocked over, if everything is buttoned up and tight, you have a pretty good chance. If the queen doesn't get mashed between two frames collapsing together, you have a real good chance that you can get your hive back upright and the bees will straighten everything out. So as you'll notice, the ratchet straps on these, the ratchet strap goes on down and around and engages the hive stand and the concrete cinder blocks underneath it to give extra stability. Over here on this bench, just one of these here, one of these there, but the hives are independently ratcheted down. Now, the other important thing I do is with this wire. The moment it's not tied on here all that tight, because I'm going to feed these in a little while. But wire, whether it be black iron wire like this, I'm going to walk out of your point of view for a moment there, dear. Or whether it be the stainless steel wire like this that you can pick up at Home Depot or anywhere else. I don't care, but use wire. Pull from underneath here to below over on this side. Snug it down tight. There's no stretch or flex with wire, and it's easy to get it tight on the hives. So with this setup, these hives are good, at least to 140 or more. And my double wides, which is why I call them hurricane hives, these things, if I didn't do anything to them, they'd be fine. Now, the other thing, of course, is this is all done. But the last step when the hurricane's coming is that every hive gets a cinder block on top, just to give it more stability and more anchorage. But the most important thing to do with your hives, if you can, is to get a ratchet strap on them so that the hive itself is held together. The next most important thing is to do something so that there is lateral stability in the hive. Obviously, one box high is pretty darn stable anyway, but if these were stacked up here, these posts driven in like that and a wire over the top would give them that lateral stability and anchorage as well. Beyond that, here in South Florida, we can no longer depend on the Brazilian pepper crop like we once did. We're kind of in dearth. I just got back from the store where I picked up 6 4-pound bags of sugar, because I need to be sure I can feed my bees for at least 3 days after the storm, 3 days of the storm and 3 days after the storm, so that they don't go tapping into their resources or anything. Just damp sugar, like I've shown in past videos. That's my preferred feeding method in a situation like this. I'm not trying to stimulate growth or anything. I'm just trying to keep them stable so that they have what they need to maintain themselves. So, flooding. Okay, well, flooding. For my hives to flood, the water would be up to here. The water got up to here on these hives, given that this ground is even higher than my house. They're on their own because I got bigger problems. But for those of you who keep your hives out, away, maybe in a low area at the back of your property or whatever, you do need to make sure your hives are above where they can flood. Or if they get knocked over and they're laying on the ground and it can flood. So you need to make sure they're stable and can stay upright. If flooding is at all an issue, then you should probably have an inner cover with a notch, or if you don't have all that fanciness, at least prop something up on whatever cover you're using on your bees. Prop it up so that the bees have an upper exit and entrance. Because if you get flooding that's above here, that doesn't mean you're going to get flooding up here. As I say, I've been down here 40 years. This property's never flooded to back here particularly. And the pad we're standing on back here was built about 6 inches higher than the surrounding yard. And that's all about 3 feet higher than down where the street is. And we have a drain at our corner and a drain at that corner. We're good until the lake fills up so high that there's no longer a lake and the roadways start to become part of the lake. We're in pretty good shape.
And how do you keep the rain out?
How do I keep the rain out? Well, a good tight cover, number one. And I like my little pieces here made out of 17-cent flashing, just piece of aluminum like this over the entrance here. Like I say, there will be two, I'll pull this a little farther forward, there will be 2 cinder blocks on each one of these. So these aren't going to go anywhere, and if they do, well, the hive underneath it probably isn't going to go anywhere. That's it. The rain, I've got front awnings on my entrances, but the bees aren't dumb. They're going to stay inside anyway. Everything's buttoned up tight. I use telescoping covers on everything anyway, and we'll be good. My bees shouldn't have any problem other than, of course, the tornado. And if a tornado hits, well, a tornado hits, tornado hits. Last tornado I saw ripped a 3-foot thick chunk of concrete off the top of a cinder block wall. Okay, hey folks, it's Rich again. Sorry, we had technical difficulties out there. I was about done with my thought anyway. If a tornado can rip a 3-foot chunk of concrete off of a roof, it can do what it wants with the bees, no matter what you do. That was pretty much going to be the end of the video anyway, but just at that point, the tablet decided to cut out. So this is, and it started raining a few seconds later anyway, and the rolling thunder is back there. So we're starting to get the outer band feeds from this thing. So I just thought I'd show you my bee shirt, and wish everybody a safe and happy week. And we'll check with you on the other side of this. Like and subscribe. Check me later.